Hi again, everyone. Uh, First video of the day. Just got done working out, so I'm a little sweaty. This is off a PayPal donation, and remember, if you donate, if you make a contribution of any amount to the PayPal link in the description box, and you want your story made into a video, you go right to the top of the list. Also, I think I really like doing the live interview thing. All the feedback I've gotten from it has been pretty much 100% positive. So that's something else that we could work into doing as well. If you want to be able to call in, talk on the phone, on video, that's something we could do as well. Um, so this again is from a contribution from PayPal, and the message is on Facebook. And please remember, if you want to contact me, the best way is to send me a friend request through Facebook. My Facebook link is below the PayPal link on all my videos. Hi Ollie, I've been an avid subscriber of your YouTube channel and have benefited greatly from your videos. Though I have made a lot of progress in my recovery from parental NPD abuse, your touching interview with your lovely wife has inspired me to share my story. I hope that it will help others with a sense of solidarity. We are not alone. For many years, I normalized my childhood despite its dysfunction. My mother was a narcissist, my father her enabler, my brother the scapegoat, and I was the golden child. As an artistically gifted child, I was fawned over by my mother. She bragged about me, my awards, my achievements, and told everyone that I would grow up to be a great artist. This made me very uncomfortable, as little praise was given to my brother. That's odd, actually. Not that it's a bad thing. It says a lot about your character that, you realize your brother wasn't getting the praise in it, and it made you uncomfortable and made you feel bad. This was especially the case once he reached his teen years and began smoking marijuana. Mom kicked him out of the house and barely spoke of him. Meanwhile, marijuana is about to be legal everywhere, so that's a subject for another video. With him out of the way, she could focus on me completely. During high school, I decided to focus on my skills on the restoration of antiques. My greatest desire was to enter an apprenticeship with a restoration house so I could learn these skills. This wasn't good enough for my mother, who spoke as though this trade was beneath me. Like I said, narcissists, unless you're doing exactly what they want, not good enough. And this could have also been ramped up as your brother gets thrown out of the house. I don't know if he was kept out of the house or not. But once the narcissist doesn't have that black sheep, typical scapegoat supply, they're going to switch their tactics onto the golden child. As soon as I graduated from high school, I began doing the legwork to start apprenticing. I discovered that my mom had enrolled me for full-time courses full-time college courses in fine art. What a violation. What a violation. Like you're still a child and your mother's enrolling you for what classes to take. But this is what narcissists do. She had undermined my hopes and did all she could to make my goals seem unworthy. I dropped out after a few months and didn't pursue my dream. And that's my wife's biggest regret as well. She went in with 2 years of college credits and basically went to a full ride at the University of Pittsburgh and didn't finish. And her art teachers begged her not to leave, but she had so much going on, so much weighing on her, that she just couldn't handle it anymore. She was at a breaking point, which is probably what happened to you. Like, what you loved this isn't really what you're doing. She sends you in there. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. This set up a precedent of believing that my skills didn't apply to anything worth doing, and I squandered my gifts as an illustrator for years. Though I have since done some freelance work in this field to great acclaim, I have long put hurdles in my own path, fearing success and praise. And that's what we do. We will self-sabotage ourselves. The second we get a modicum of success, we immediately take it down. And the reason, and for me anyway, the reason has always been, all right, I got this success now, it's going to get higher. But what if it fails? All right, well, if it fails from here and I fall, I'm fine. But I don't think I could get to this point and fail, because you're always worried about failing. You're failing in the future off the success. You're worried about succeeding in the future and then failing off that success. It's crazy. It really is. I'm constantly asked by people where they could find my work, who's representing me, and why I don't do full-time work as an illustrator. Sounds like Charlene. It's all thanks to the voices within. That for too long told me that I'll never be good enough. Those aren't your voices. Those are not your voices. That is your mother's voices. And I've talked about that at length as well. That's not your voice telling you that. That's your mother's voice. And you need to be able to turn to that voice in your head and tell it to fuck off. Funny enough, my first marriage was to a neglectful man who, upon our divorce, told me that he only married me because he saw me as an investment. He knew the potential of my talent and he tried to control it strictly for commercial purposes. Gold diggers are men too. When the people you've trusted seek to only harness and control your passion and talent, it leaves you very hesitant to use it. I should also mention the sexual aspects of my childhood. Firstly, my mother barely discussed puberty or what I should expect as a developing girl. Neither did Charlene's mother. Sex was not talked about ever. Well, that's a little different. She was birthed by a dark narcissist who rejected her in childhood and sent her to live with her strict fundamentalist Baptist grandmother. This was probably why she quietly dismissed me when I came to her after having been molested by a neighbor when I was 7 years old. She asked if I was okay, then told me that there was no need to discuss it with anyone. I mentioned this incident to my father over 20 years later, and he was floored. She had never told him about it. One thing she was aware of, however, was when I was 19 years old, and she urged me toward dating a 51-year-old man, a department head at our local university. She actually drove me to his house, making it clear that she didn't expect me back until late. Keep in mind that, as her golden child, I was enmeshed and deeply sheltered. I had never dated. I was still a virgin, perfectly under my mother's control. I spent several visits with him, in a fog most of the time. I can't imagine what my father thought of all this. I don't even know if your father knew about it. If she didn't tell your father at 7 when you were 7 that you got molested, I would pretty much guarantee she didn't tell him about this dude. Wow, your mother is deeply, deeply sick in the head. My mother died just after I turned 21, after months of my father and I caring for her last bout with cancer. Knowing that there was already tension between some of my 6 half-siblings from her first marriage, she decided that instead of having a printed will, she would rely on me to deliver the news of whom would end up with what. I didn't realize how manipulative and triangulating this was, and it caused erroneous rift in the family that hasn't healed over 20 years later. And that was her full intent. But you left out your mother didn't talk to you about sex, but she had 6 kids from a prior marriage that you left out. There's more to your mother than you think. That's really odd that she has 6 kids from a prior marriage and she never spoke to you about sex. I am very close to my full brother who I grew up with, but most of my half-siblings barely communicate with us, if at all. Though my brother and I are actively preparing to discuss all this in the coming days, there is no way that I would ever mention it to my half-siblings. They probably know there is serious dysfunction in the family, but would likely never admit it willingly. I normalized so much of this familial manipulation and tolerated a lot of abusive relationships, both platonic and romantic. I was a master of making excuses, giving the benefit of the doubt, understanding the misunderstood. You get the idea. This is all changed after a deeply abusive relationship with a malignant narcissist sociopath who used every trick in the book: gaslighting, hypnotism, trauma bonding, hoovering, physical abuse, you name it. After enduring a permanently damaged hand, I After enduring a permanently damaged hand, I ended the connection, blocking him from any and all contact. Sorry. This forced my determination never to let this happen again, and to see why I was so accepting of being mistreated. I've read countless books on abnormal psychology, spoken with others who have been targeted, and have watched so many video blogs. Yours have been the most direct and honest, and have helped to truly clarify the nature of my childhood abuse. Though I had spent over a year deeply researching all this, it took a conversation with my current husband, who is actually a deeply caring man who has held my hand through my healing process, to finally understand the dysfunctional relationship I had with my mother. I'm telling him about the molestation that was silenced. I began to cry for the first time. Envisioning anyone who would dismiss the abuse of a child horrified me, and it became clear the sort of person who raised me. Obviously, look, when you get molested as a child and your mother and your parents know about it, especially your mother, and they blow it off or laugh at it in my case and make a big joke about it, it changes you. It changes who you are, you know, at that moment. And you're willing to accept at that moment that you're valueless, that whatever happens to you doesn't matter, that, you know, the molester is the victim somehow. And that's why you have empathy for the people that deserve none. That's why you keep falling into these traps. I mean, that was the moment in your life where that changed you, that made you believe that you are the most valueless person. You know, in a room full of people, you come last. And that's what they do when they neglect your abuse like that. You always come last, and you're always going to put yourself last at your own detriment. The memories I have shared here came flooding back, and it finally hit me who had trained me from a very early on to tolerate narcissistic abuse and seek it out consciously. My mother, obviously. The same person I had practically sainted for over 20 years, grieving misguidedly. That same day I took down every single photograph of her and faced her treachery. Good for you. Incredibly powerful day of diamond clarity. I never had the chance to discuss this with my father, as he died over 7 years ago. Okay, I'm sorry. He had his own issues raised by narcissists himself. To say that there is a history of psychological abuse on both sides of the family is an understatement. And like me, he also squandered his own talents. That could have taken him to national recognition as a classical musician. In retrospect, it makes perfect sense that he was attracted to such a malignant woman. Yeah, it does. I am finally at the point of recovery where I'm stretching my talents in earnest and excited about approaching publishers, agents, and companies that can promote my work as I want to create it, with a vision that is my own. It's scary at times, but I see it as a way of challenging myself to the final level of healing, and nurturing my inner child's desire to make beautiful pictures and bring joy to others in the process. Knowing the root of one's fears, doubts, and anxieties is a frightening thing, but clarity brings courage. I wish the best for both of you and sincerely hope that your wife's hands find the creative strength again. In creativity, there is power to heal oneself as well with others. Thanks to you both. Well, thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your message. You are very similar to my wife in the art aspect, and you know she's doing what she can. She's working on her art here. And I haven't talked about it. She's working for a fine art gallery in Fort Lauderdale, learning a lot about art, meeting a lot of artists. You know, she's really enjoying it. But you know, to your story, yeah, you're absolutely right of where the root of your problems come from. Your mother, and from that abuse. And You know, not only did it happen at 7 years old where your mother told you to ignore it and never speak of it again, so you've already put yourself last, your body, your feelings, everything about yourself comes last. Okay. When you're getting to a point now as an adult, as a young adult at 19, another crucial time, I think, in a person's life. Okay. She basically makes you relive the 7-year-old memory by presenting you to a 51-year-old man, further, nailing the fact down that you come last and you don't matter and you do what I say and how I say it, what you did with your schooling, what you wanted to do with your art, all that left you susceptible to be abused and to be injured and to be quiet about it. And then she sets you up. Then she sets you up to be hated by the rest of the family. So she obviously, you mentioned that you didn't want to actually bring this all on your half siblings. I honestly think you should. At least they'll know whether they want to accept it or not is entirely up to them. But I think there might be a very good chance, okay, and probably a very good probability that they've all been abused too. To what effect, to what extent, how she did it. She didn't just abuse you and your brother and then have 6 kids from a prior marriage and be the greatest mom to them. There's just no way. There's no way. Maybe you should have like a sibling, like maybe almost like a sibling summit. Invite them and say, look, I think we've all been fucked with and abused from childhood by this woman, okay? And I think we should all sit down and talk about what happened to us, what our dealings with. Instead of saying you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that, each one of you should, I think, would be a good idea to talk about their dealings with your mother. And then you might, as somebody, just like on my YouTube channel and other people's channels, as I'm reading people's stories and you're hearing and listening to them, it's like, that happened to me, holy shit, that happened to me. There could be similar stuff that happened to all of you that you all don't know about. And maybe then all you can come to an understanding of what happened. I mean, unless the bitterness is too deep because there's a money split or whatever. But I think it's worth considering. Think about it. And much like the YouTube channel where everybody can hear their own life in parts of other people's stories or even larger parts of other people's stories, I think you could probably do the same thing with your siblings, because there's no way your mother was only shitty to you and your brother. There's no way. So thank you for your message. Thank you for your contribution. I hope it helped. Thank you for everybody who's watching. Any comments of support or suggestions, please leave them in the comment box. And remember, if you enjoy this channel, please consider making a contribution to the PayPal link in the description box below. And remember, if you do make a contribution of any size and you want your story made into a video, you go right to the top of the list. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon. Bye.